Oh, have you tried the new ChatGPT 5 yet? All right. I wanted to make this video a little bit later until I had more time with the tool in order to really do some deep dive and deep digging. But I just wanted to give my first impressions of GPT-5 and whether or not I still think it's worth it to use the OpenAI stack or OpenAI set of AI tools. Or is it time to migrate? So let's talk about it. And if you don't yet know me, my name is Kimberly Inez Mays. I demystify technology for small and medium-sized service-based professional businesses so that they can finally stop duct taping their systems together and start scaling with confidence. And I do so through marketing, technology, and AI. So let's get into it. Let's get into this ChatGPT 5 and why I really wanted to love it and why I'm not in love yet. And before I kind of go into why I'm not in love with it, I'll just talk about the big elephant in the room as of this recording is that it is the only one that I have access to within the UI, within the actual website. Now, if you're a coder or programmer, as I am, or even if you're just a person who knows how to use APIs, maybe you're using another tool that will call the API directly, you still have access to the other models. But as of this recording, we only have access to, at least on the plus users, the paid users, we only have access to ChatGPT 5, and I believe, let me just take a look at my second monitor, their thinking mode. And that has ruffled, ooh, I silenced my phone. That has ruffled many of feathers, and for good reason too. I think once you take something away from people that they used to have and they no longer have it, people are going to get mad no matter how good the new thing is. And I think that was a major faux pas on the account of OpenAI, because I want my other models, dang it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, if this sounds like gibberish to you, think about it this way. Every time they release a new model, that model has certain strengths or certain things that make it different than the models that preceded it. ChatGPT 5 is kind of an all-in-one model that will determine the level at which it will do deep thinking, reasoning, research for you, so you don't have to pick between the strengths of different models. It's supposed to have all of that built into it, and it will determine based on the user's prompt what type of response or what type of process to run based on that. And that can be a double-edged sword, right? Because if you're kind of a novice and you just really don't care, you just want an output really fast, or you just don't want to have a drop-down toggling between different models, this is great for you, right? Because the old models, they weren't really named the greatest. So I understand why people were confused. We had O3, O1, O1 mini, O4 mini, and we had 4.0. So it was very confusing if you didn't know exactly how these models differ and which one you needed to use for which task. So I think of it like, I just came up with an analogy on the fly. It's like a car, right? I only know how to drive an automatic car. And so I just, do my thing, I drive, but I don't know how to drive a manual car. So I liken it to that, where GPT-5 is that automatic car, and then the old way of doing things where you switch between your models. That's more like choosing your gears more, closely. So I think that is kind of where we are right now. Those power users, it's like, wait a minute, I want to determine if I use 4.0 or O4 mini, which is a mini reasoning model that I used a lot, or O3, which is a reasoning model that I also used a lot. So I'm really missing that. I'm missing that level of control. And I think that is something that's going to really cloud our judgment of this new model, because I had planned to do a side by side, but I can't do that right now because I don't even have access to the old one. Well, that's not true. I have API access to the old one, so technically I could show you, but I'm not going to do that because that would involve too much setup work for me right at this moment. But the silver lining is that as of this recording, they are promising to put or reinstate 4.0 back to all Plus users. So we do have that. I find that this is one of the things that that I miss the most. I know that this model was blamed to be like a yes man, where it would always agree with you, was designed to agree with the user. Whereas I find that GPT-5 is a little bit less amiable and more direct, more to the point, which is probably a good thing. That's how we should treat AI, as, you know, an assistant, but not really a human or anthropomorphic, whatever that big word is. We shouldn't assign human-like qualities to it yet. We've seen some of the downstreams with people falling in love with it, which I'm not even going to go into in this video. That is way on a tangent. But without further ado, let's pivot and let's look at my screen, right? So here is GPT 5. Let me just close the assistant. So I'm also playing around with the Comet browser. So I'm using the Comet browser to do a few things, but I don't need the assistant right now. So let's just look at GPT-5. So it says ChatGPT now has our smartest, fastest, most useful model yet, with thinking built in. So you get the best answer every time. So let's say, what is new with GPT-5 versus the older models? Can you please compare it to an automatic car versus manual? Give me a table with, let's see, how do I want it? Just give me a table. I'll just say give me a table, because I don't want to overly prompt it, because I want to see what it comes up with on its own. Right? And then we can get into some more useful use cases. So GPT-5, like I said, is an automatic car. Older model is a manual car. And then, so it's like example GPT-4. So it's like smooth, adapts to your style without you having to switch gears. Larger gearbox, it can remember and manage longer, more complex conversions. Let's see. It also, yeah, this analogy is getting a little clunky, but you know, basically it is supposed to go faster. It's supposed to be more creative. It's supposed to be faster. But I'm gonna actually exit out of this because I don't really love this analogy too much. So let's just start a new one. And one small note, which I know is goofy, but I kind of like the little purple gradient. I wish they kept that through the chat. I don't know. It's the little things for me, right? Like, I just feel unicorn magic, and it just makes me a little happy. But basically, what I don't love is that I only have access to these two. So we do have thinking, and we do have flagship, and then we also have the option to think faster, think slower. So let's just think right now. Let's do a prepared use case. So let's say I'm doing a dashboard, or I'm doing research for my health and wellness coaching business, and I want to see one who, I will say market size in the US, market size in the US. And let's see, number 2, let's just do SWOT analysis. Well, no, I would need an actual business to do a SWOT analysis. I'll just do market size in the US, and I would say gap analysis. What USP should my business have to fill common voids in this industry? And hopefully it kind of knows what I'm saying. Usually when I do things like this, I will also ask it to ask me questions back. So, if there's points of clarification, it will let me know. And then I will say 3, give me a full report based on your findings and recommendations. And then, the plus sign, we still have access to a few things. We still have access to agent mode, which I still need to cover. Deep research, which is really cool too. I have done a bunch of deep research before, so that on its own will probe deeper into the prompt, and it will pull out more. I've done deep research. I've also done deep research in Gemini too, and I can also compare and contrast in another video. Create an image, think longer, which is another feature. So let's just do think longer. And then more, study and learn. That's going to be a topic for another day. Let's do web search as well, and then we can put it into Canva later. So let's just do this, and let's just do a one-shot prompt, right? Because I like to do things quick when I demo things. Normally, I would never, if this was an actual use case that I do for my business or my client's business, I would definitely take a lot longer and a lot more thought into my prompts. But, my prompts are trash when I'm doing it in real time. So what can you do? All right. So we have the market size. We have gap analysis, regulation and trust, lack of personalization, unequal access, wellness gap, growing demands. So if you're looking for a niche, you can use some of this stuff. I love research, by the way. I don't know if I said that enough. It says full reports and recommendations. So it gave you something pretty quick. This wasn't mind-blowingly awesome. I've gotten something similar in other models, but then again, I can't compare it right now, but it did give me the sources on the side so you can see the citations. And then you can also say, based on this, what recommendations do you have for me? And I'm trying to make it think longer, but right now it's pretty fast. I think mathematical problems probably will trip this up. Oh, I have a good use case. So, all right, so it has some recommendations here. So you can pretty much use it like you've used ChatGPT before, but now I'm gonna take you into Canvas mode, and I'm going to say, please create, because you can do vibe coding now. Well, you could do vibe coding before, but it's supposed to be faster and better in GPT-5. So let's say, please create a mini, oh, this should be fun, mini Oregon Trail game. So if you're around my age, you may have played this game in school, where you basically try to get from the East Coast to the West Coast during the early phases of the country, the pioneer season. And basically you would try not to die of all sorts of diseases and whatnot. It was a simple computer game that we played back in the 80s. And so if you're an elder millennial or a very young Gen Z person, a Gen X person, you may have known this game. So I'm going to make a mini game. I went off tangent, but I'm going to make a mini game. So please create a mini Oregon Trail game. Please update the... you know what? I'm not going to even do that. I was going to make it all fancy and whatnot. But let's say, please create a mini Oregon Trail game. So here is a simple but playable version. It's writing the Python code. I'm going to actually put this in Canvas. So let's say, please create a playable game in Canvas. Now, I did this the other day, and it was a little bit playable, but it had some bugs in it. So creating the game. So you can see now you can see what it's doing. You can say, get a quick answer, or you can just get the longer answer or wait. So thought for 10 seconds. This was actually pretty good. And what we're looking at is the actual code. So it's importing libraries. Then it's also writing the code. You can see here it has the weather because in Oregon Trail we come up against the weather. The different cities. Let's see. So it's still writing, and it might write for another minute. And then what we're going to do when it finishes writing is we're going to press this run code and see how well it works. And I am not super duper confident that it's going to work. I think this is a pretty complex game. I should have asked for Snake. Snake was another game that we played on our phones. And then there was another game that I'm probably not proud to have played, but it was called Dope Wars. That one was just a buy and sell game as well. I played that on my calculator back in high school, actually, but that's beside the point. But you can see it's creating the HTML, it's creating the JavaScript. It's doing a lot. So we're gonna let this bake for a little bit. Let's see. Okay, it's done. Cool. So initializing environment, I pressed run. So let's see what we got. I can go back into my archives and look for stuff that's already been made too, if this takes too long. But then again, when I create videos, when I create content, I tend to not edit it for perfect demos. So sometimes things go wrong, sometimes things don't quite work as well, and I just say, okay, well, let's try something else, because that's life. If I showed you something that worked 100% of the time, then I'd give you a false impression that that thing worked 100% of the time. So I'm showing you in real time some of the struggles and some of the pitfalls of just doing things quickly, or maybe showing you how to iterate to get the result that you want. So it's going a little bit slower, and I'm not sure if that is by design, but when you are recording, you obviously do want it to go fast. So I'm going to think about if I want to create a new tab or if I just want to ride this out. Initializing environment. Okay, if this goes on for one more minute, I'm going to start doing something else. And then we can always come back to it as well. So this actually really did work. So what I'm going to do is I am also going to just create a new chat. And I'm going to say, create a playable snake game that I can run from my browser as an HTML file. The snake should grow. Well, how did that snake game go again? Longer as it eats more. I think that's how the game would go. I could have asked for Dope Wars as well, but I don't think that the algorithms like that sort of thing. So let's not create that. But so it says snake single file HTML game. Let's see if this actually works. But you can see you get usable content, you get usable code, and I can download this, play it on my browser. So let's see if this one's a little faster. And then I'll go back in my archives and pull up the other Oregon Trail game that I made, but it didn't quite work the same. But you can easily make websites, you can easily make small apps and interfaces using this with no problem. So its coding capabilities are actually pretty good, I would say. Of course, being a former coder, I would probably do that human in the loop thing just to make sure that, it's written well, it's not bloated, but it's very fast. I will give you that. I know that there are some hallucinations people have reported, but then again, I need to make sure that I do a thorough analysis before I make any claims to that fact. So let's open this. Okay, so okay. Hey, sorry about that. Yes, it was a little glitch. I ran out of space. I had to do a few things, but all right. So now I'm back, and so now this is the game. So I'm going to do a restart. I don't know how it created a game over, but you can see that it looks somewhat playable, but it doesn't really work. And I could go back and ask it to make it work, but you see that it created, oops, resume, restart. You can see that it created something. So let's see. R is to restart. So I'm playing this little game that I don't really know if it works so much, but let's see. So this is the thing with vibe coding. It does take iterations to create something usable. So if you think you're going to just prompt and get something amazing, you might if it's very simple. But you can see that it did make this game on the fly just using this code. So if I just say, hey, it doesn't work with keystrokes and the snake doesn't move. And notice I didn't tell it like what colors or anything to use. It just kind of knew how to do that. So now it says thinking longer, troubleshooting keystroke and movement. So it will go back and fix some of the things. But then again, you could have done this with some of the older models as well. So really, I would say what I'm going to say is that my first impressions are still being formed on GPT-5. The biggest impression left on me is if you take something away from me, I'm not going to be happy no matter how good the new thing is. So I think that right now they need to reinstate some of the older models, at least for the time being, until we've had a chance to really run this. I mean, get to know this and get to know and love this stuff. So, all right, I'm not going to keep you guys too much because I know that I've gone way over the time that I wanted to take to do this. So I am going to stop sharing. And of course, the game's still not that playable to me, so I'm going to stop sharing. But what I am going to tell you is this. No matter which model you're using, no matter which tech stack you're using, or what you decide to use, whether it is OpenAI, ChatGPT is OpenAI, Anthropic Claude, Gemini, you want to be sure that you're using it in the way it's designed to be used, prompting effectively for you and your business, giving it context and all of that good stuff, right? And I say that if you haven't yet gotten started, get started because that's the only way to get better. There's no magic bullet or a tool or anything out there that's going to do it all for you. You do need to get your hands dirty. And if you need any guidance or support, whether it's for you, your team member, or your organization, let's have a chat. So I do automation insight sessions where we talk about what's working, what's not working, where you want to be, what you've tried before, and how I can best support. That might be using a frontier model. That might also be using something that I can customize for you, whether that is a custom application or plugin, or even just designing a training as well. All right, so that's all I gotta say about that. First impressions of GPT-5 is I would give it on letter grade, maybe a B minus, because honestly, it didn't give me a lot of time before taking away some of the older models within the user interface. And that's what I really wanted to compare. And I would say, right now I'm keeping my subscription. So if you are subscribed, you can do the same. I know I've covered custom GPTs before, which I've kind of neglected to talk about as well, but they also work with GPT-5. And another nice thing about GPT-5 is that if you are building custom applications and you just want to use one model for a variety of purposes, then you can literally just use the API for that. No need to customize your application to use multiple versions anymore. And let me see, what else? I think that is about it. API fees are pretty reasonable and affordable, but like most people, you'll use it through the user interface, and so time will tell. It'll get better and better, and I'll cover some of the more granular features within the UI in other videos. But for right now, take care, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.